Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Wildman. My name is Miles Bassett, I'm the CEO and founder over at Wildman Web Solutions, a digital marketing agency here in Lawrence, Kansas. And every week, my team and I go live to answer any and all questions we can. We're live on Facebook and YouTube right now, so pick your poison. And if you want to jump in the conversation at any point, put your questions in the comments below. Ask us questions about business, about marketing, about technology. We're here for it. So, or if you just want to jump in and be part of the conversation, we like to be engaging that way. But we do this every week, every Wednesday at 11, live streaming to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. So make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all the social media lingo there, so that you get that notification, that reminder every week to join in. Alrighty, let's go ahead and ask my friend Mike to join us. Mike, are you there?
Well, hello. I am here, Miles. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel me?
Sound checked. You were checked.
All
Congratulations.
right.
We made it.
In the house. Yeah, it was a hell of a journey. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Okay, so like I said, this is a live Q&A show. So if you have any questions or just stuff you kind of want to talk about, curiosities regarding business, technology, marketing, throw those questions, comments in the comments below, and we'll use that and talk about it today. But I wanted to start off with one that we got in the email inbox. I guess I should probably address that since this is a weekly thing. If you're seeing this later, you can email us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I've got that address scrolling below us in that little crawler down there, so you can grab it. Anyway, so starting off with the email inbox, but you guys can throw your questions in the comments below. First is on mobile apps. I think this one pretty much boils down to this person already has a mobile responsive website, a mobile friendly website. Why do I need an app too, or do I need an app as well? So that's a pretty good question. As you
Good
all
question.
probably know, we're living in a very mobile world now, mobile first world now. Um, as of a couple of years ago, most of internet browsing is being done on mobile devices, and that's just looking at basic browsing on internet browsers. That doesn't even touch um, apps, native apps, shopping on apps versus shopping online on your desktop or on a laptop. If you calculate all of that in there, a vast majority of all of the traffic online is happening on mobile now. So it's super important that you do have some sort of presence on mobile. So just starting before this question even addresses anything, if you don't have a mobile responsive website, that has to be your number one priority before we start talking about apps or any kind of mobile first designs or optimizations or any other stuff. At the very beginning, at least make sure your website works on mobile, and also make sure to check it on multiple devices. So things can display differently on different browsers across different devices. It'll look different on a tablet like an iPad versus an iPhone or a smaller screen. It'll look different on different generations of iPhones. This thing's going to look very different on a iPhone 4 versus the iPhone 11. And it'll look different over on Android phones as well. So make sure to test cross platforms. You'll hear a lot of words surrounding that, but basically it looks good on phones. It works good on phones. Why should you be looking at mobile apps? So this is actually becoming less and less of a either or kind of scenario. These two technologies are becoming closer and closer all the time. With the advent of 5G, faster internet, mobile responsive websites are becoming closer and closer in functionality to mobile applications, to native mobile applications. And mobile apps are, the technology surrounding them is developing in a way such that developing these apps is easier rather than just building natively on their languages or in their platforms. There are now tools out there to allow you to build hybridized applications using web technologies, enabling more and more developers to build more and more apps quicker and with less resources. So these two worlds a couple of years ago were completely disparate. You had websites, you had mobile websites, and you had apps, and these two were completely separate worlds. And now they're kind of melding together. So I guess the first part of that answer is that you shouldn't look at this thing as an and or, but rather look at the mix of technologies that are out there. See what your options are and which is going to be uh, a best direction for you and your business. Because there's just a ton of options now regarding getting your business online and getting it mobile friendly. But specifically talking about native mobile apps, let's just hit that for a bit, and we'll talk about the rest of it later. Native mobile apps. When we say native, that means that the code of the software of the app is actually running natively on that device or on that phone. So that's what people mean when they say native mobile app. It's actually downloaded onto that phone, and the software is processing and using that phone's computational abilities to process whatever functions it's doing. So this gives you a couple of benefits. Um, Better processing speed, since you're not waiting on, you know, internet connections and requests to some server around the world in order to get a response back, and then it does whatever calculation it's supposed to do, whatever function it's supposed to do. You don't have those delays of the internet. You can have everything natively processed. And depending on what you're doing, you might not even need an internet connection once it's downloaded. That's why, you can play games on your phone when you have no service. Um, or ideally anyway. You'll notice when things are actually accessing internet in the background when you start using them without any connectivity to the internet. Anyway, so you can get a real boost in performance that way when you are working with a native app. So if you are doing something beyond the basic functionality of a website, um, that's just, find us, contact us, here's what we do, basic services, presenting media like pictures or video or something. That's a website. But if you're getting into actually doing something, there's a function, a calculation, some sort of practical thing that the site is doing, then you might want to think about having a mobile app because you're going to see that performance boost. Another major win for native apps is that you can use the hardware on the phone, so you can easily access things like your location services or the camera or motion sensors. Or I mean, nowadays this this little phone here, is a supercomputer with a ton of sensors on it, a ton of different hardware that you can then leverage and utilize in your application. So it just opens up a whole new world of IoT, the Internet of Things kind of processing, different data that you can pull in, and enhances your application's capabilities well beyond what you can do with even the best mobile-friendly websites. Websites are getting better about being able to connect to some of this stuff on phones, but they still are just miles behind what native apps can do as far as accessing the native functionality of your device. So those are kind of the big wins for truly native apps. You get way better processing and you get access to the phone's native functionality. Now, there are some things that I would have said are wins for native apps a few years ago, things um, like location services, like push notifications, where you couldn't really do that on a mobile site. You could only do these kinds of things on truly native apps. But like I said, these worlds are kind of colliding and overlapping now. So you have things like hybridized applications and progressive web apps that are they've got one foot in both worlds. So you can develop these. They're really websites. They're pretty much websites, but they are designed to look like mobile apps. They are saved shortcuts. They have shortcuts saved to your phone's home screen, so they look like apps, and they basically function like apps. Uh, According to the user, a lot of users won't notice the difference between PWA, progressive web app, hybridized app, and a truly native app. Um, they don't have all of the benefits. They don't have the increased processing power of truly native apps, and there are some pieces of hardware and native functionality that they can't access, but now they can do things that they couldn't do before. Things like sending out push notifications or accessing location services, accessing the phone's camera. Well, some websites can do that as well, but like I said, this whole thing is overlapping a lot more. So you might not even have to go as far as developing a truly native mobile app if you just want to do a PWA. These things are developed using web technologies, so more developers and more agencies are going to be familiar with how they work, and they're going to be able to build these things. They're faster to publish because you're just publishing a website. You don't have to publish it to the Apple App Store, Google App Store. Both of those entities require that you meet certain thresholds, you meet certain criteria, you follow all of their rules in order to publish to their stores. And then you're beholden to whatever updates or whatever changes they make to their rules in order to operate on their app store. With a PWA, you're just published to the internet. So there are no rules. You can kind of put up whatever you want out there. You're not publishing to anyone or to anything. Um, so publication is a lot faster. Maintenance is a lot easier. The only downside is that, again, you're not getting that processing boost that you get in a truly native app, and you're not going to be able to do some of the amazing functions that a truly native app can do. So you can do a mix of all of these things. You can pick one or the other, but basically to answer the core question, why do I need a mobile app? And this could be a PWA, a hybridized app, or a truly native app, depending on what you need it to do. But I would say that there's a lot of benefit to having one of those. I've kind of beaten that horse uh, regarding the technology of the different kinds of apps. But this is really more of a marketing question. Um, when you have a mobile app, you have the benefit of doing something we call skipping the search. So you've marketed it to this person, to this customer, you've convinced them to download your app or to save your PWA or whatever it is, then your app is on their phone's home screen. So the example that we always use is a pizza place. If I decide that I want pizza, I'm either going to open up my browser on my phone and search for pizza places near me, and whoever pops up uh, first is going to have a major advantage, or at least the top couple there. And then if you're not in that list, then you're probably not going to get picked. And even if you are on that list, you're sitting right there next to your competition, and I might decide to choose them. If, however, I have your app on my phone, I won't even get to the search. I won't get to your competitors listed there. I won't get to my browser. I open up my phone, I see your app there, and I'm just going to use that. So you end up building up this, I don't know, what would you call that, Mike? This loyalty, customer loyalty kind of effect with just
Yeah,
by,
brand
yeah,
loyalty and top of mind awareness is really what you're talking about there.
exactly. Because also,
But
anytime I open up my phone, which I don't know about you, I'm on my phone like 90% of the day, or it feels like it anyway. That means that I'm looking at your app. I'm seeing your logo on there every time I open up my phone. And even if it's not really a conscious thing, that's a sort of subliminal messaging there of your logo in front of me all day, every day. And then, yeah, you can just completely skip the search. I'm thinking about you whenever I'm thinking about your product, and you are more accessible than ever. You're really all of your services and everything that you put in that app is literally a button push away, a button click away. So if you position it properly and you use it properly, you promote it properly, you get people to download it, you don't spam them with a bunch of push notifications or anything like that. You really use this tool properly, it can be an immensely powerful tool in your digital marketing tool belt in combination with a mobile responsive website, because you still need that. This does not replace having a mobile friendly website. In combination with your other marketing efforts, your other digital marketing efforts. Of course, this doesn't replace any of that, but it can be an awesome tool to leverage to increase your brand awareness and customer loyalty, and just have that direct connection to your customer's pocket with something like a push notification instead of email marketing or sending out a blast on Facebook or whatever. your message, whatever it is that you're sending out, is going directly to my pocket. And I get a notification that your business is telling me specifically something. And people are a lot more likely to look at those and notice those than they are, say, open your email and your email campaign. So that was probably a lot there. Mike, do you want to jump in on sort of the marketing angle of having an app versus just having a mobile friendly website?
Sure, Miles. Yeah, you touched on a whole lot of good stuff. Uh, Maybe I'll just drive home that point you made there at the end. It's really, to me, it's like when a customer downloads your app, you're getting real estate on the most important piece of property that you can get, other than right here, other than their actual brain, and that's of course the phone. This thing is severely underrated in terms of how important it is, and how important it is to commerce, and how important it is that your customers are easily access your goods and services on this thing. So when they do download that app, it's really just like you're taking a little piece of land right there, and you're plopping down, you're building a house. And so it's really, really important that you be able to do that in this day and age. And yeah, the pizzas place is a good example. I always use the hotels.com app
Yeah.
example. And this is not a paid advertisement, but years ago I downloaded the hotels.com app, and since then I have completely skipped the search, I would say, on 97, 98% of hotel reservations I've made. And I'm somebody who travels very often in non-COVID times, and so it's quite a bit of hotel bookings. And I've never got on another site. The only time I can think about booking a hotel outside of hotels.com is when I went to a conference or something like that, and there was a specific book through the hotel with this kind of code deal going on. And so I hop on my phone, I get what I need done, and it's provided a good service for me, and so I haven't had to go and look somewhere else to get that service done. And so once they got me to download that app, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're top of the funnel, middle of the funnel advertising. They don't have to do anymore. It's just all retention. It's just all about customer service. And actually, there's been a few times where I've had an issue, like a late cancellation or something like that, and they've provided excellent customer service. There's been a few chances where they could have lost me as a customer, and it goes back to that marketing bridge idea that we've harped on in previous episodes. But they had a firm marketing bridge in place, and so their marketing effort, their brand effort, and their app effort all coalesced to keep a happy customer, like I said, for I'd say at least 6 or 7 years now. So it's a really powerful tool. And a lot of times when we think about apps, we think about big businesses, right? We think about hotels.com and all these bigger places. But one of the things that is really advanced, and certainly in the last 5 or so years, is the ability to have even native apps, even full-scale apps, produced at a lot lower cost than what was happening years before, and in a much quicker time frame. So we're able to get clients apps that are small businesses, people who normally probably wouldn't think about, hey, I can't be like hotels.com. I can't have my own app on some phone because it's going to cost me $100,000 and take a year to build, right? Well, that's not necessarily the case. Now, you could still build an app like that. Sure, Miles would love to help you with that, but that doesn't have to be the case whatsoever. So that's something, that is part of our job, is to make sure that the small business, medium-sized business community understands the leaps the technology has come. And it's just like big screen televisions. You probably remember, when the big screen TV was like one of the biggest purchases that you were going to make. It was a really, really expensive item. And now I think some of the game consoles are more expensive than a good brand new big screen TV. So as the technology grows, the price comes down. Don't let the Federal Reserve fool you. Sometimes deflation is okay, and we shouldn't fight it in every aspect of the economy. But let's get back to brand here for a second, Miles, because this actually does does dovetail into something that I wanted to harp on. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and that is how important brand has become in the COVID era in 2020. And I was listening to somebody that was from one of the lead brand consulting agencies in the world, and they were given a lot of good data about what they've been finding as they look has shown in terms of customer loyalty and customer consideration of brands compared to other years. And I won't bore you guys with a bunch of data here. I'll just hit the top line stuff. In basically, brand is more important than ever, is what they found. And what also than ever is reputation and accessibility. We've talked a lot about this, previously on the show. Cutting the resistance, cutting the red tape between you and your customer, and the least amount of friction is going to win. And the app is a great example of this. As a way to make it much easier for somebody to do business with you than your competitor. I've given the example on the show a few times now of my own personal grocery store shopping saga during the pandemic, where one store has taken a much larger bulk of my money because they have an app and I'm easily online and I can just pull right up and they put it in the back of the truck and it's done and I drive off, and it's literally, I'm probably saving like 2 hours a week in grocery shopping time. And so it's worth it for me to go there, even though I actually like the products better at the other store. But it's about that accessibility factor. So again, brand is really more important than ever. The other thing that they found, and this is not necessarily good news for small businesses, but the big brands are winning. Bigger brands are getting bigger. And the main reason for that is this, I'll throw one stat out for you, is that they found that 49% increase in consideration of somebody's main brand, the brand that they love the most, over all other competitors. That means that if I love hotels.com, in the pandemic, there's a 49% increase in the likelihood that I will not even consider another company except for hotels.com because they've already taken care of me. So what that means is it's harder than ever, or at least harder than much recent memory, to acquire new customers, to take customers away from your competition. Again, something like and so again, having something like an app is really a game changer and allowing you to have a clear difference between your competition, which it has really never been important. And here's an interesting thing though, Miles. I'll throw this tidbit in. Even though this doesn't really have anything to do with brand, but the other thing is that the only sector where big brands are really losing in terms of sales is among the Generation Z and the youngest generation. And so here's my theory on that, is that big brands, they're still caught up, and a lot of them, with the bulk of their budgets in the traditional marketing world, they're still spending a lot of money on direct mail, a lot of money on outdoor advertising, a lot of money on television, radio, and they've increased their social media clout, but not at the rate that we all know that they should. So where are the young people, right? The young people are on social media. So that's why they're losing with young people. And of course, as time goes on, the social media platforms are skewing older and older and older. So I think that this is a trend that small businesses can get a win on. You can still advertise relatively cheaply on a lot of these social media platforms where the competition, for the most part, and in some categories this isn't true anymore, is not jumping in, most of their eggs into that basket. And so that's a way that you can still, David can still fight Goliath. I feel like is with using social media. And so I'll go into this right now, Miles, unless you have something to add, or should I get into my news update here?
No, I think that's a really good point. A couple of good points in there. I just think that I want to really emphasize the little bit that I threw in there, and that is that makes brand development that much more valuable. You framed it as not necessarily good news that the big brands are winning here, but brand is more valuable than ever. That means that if you find a way, something like small local social media marketing, or developing an app, or maybe a PWA where you can get that foothold in there and do that sort of brand development, then it's more valuable than ever, because that's something that can really snowball. If you get a couple of people more and more tied to your brand, and they're less and less likely to look at other brands, even consider other brands according to that stat, then doing that brand development effort is more valuable, and you get more return on that investment than potentially any time in recent history.
100%. And if you are that small, brand, if you're Free State Brewery, maybe you've already accomplished so much of that market share that a major corporation, I'm trying to, whatever, a major brewery, Sam Adams, Sam Adams then opened up a brewery in Lawrence. Well, that's going to be a huge uphill battle for Sam Adams, because with that stat was not just saying that only the big brands are getting the consideration. It's the most brand loyalty. It's who do I love the most?
Mm-hmm.
So what that really means is that if I'm a new or up and coming business, this pandemic has made it a lot harder, and so I'm going to have to be a lot more savvy than even it's already hard, of course, taking market share as a new or emerging business, but it's going to be even more difficult. What I would think, the course of action would be, and something that you have to consider if this is you that I'm talking to, is it's not going to be a short battle. So don't take the easy win, so to speak. Don't take the shortcuts, because building actual brand, as we've talked about ad nauseum on the show, is the long game, and it is the right game. And times are going to change. We're going to get out of this, and the economy is going to be different. It's not going to go back to the way it was, but it's also not going to stay exactly like this, of course. So don't lose sight of that long-term vision that you have for your company and your business, because there will be times where it'll be easier to take market share if you do the diligence now to build your brand, and do all the things you need to do in the right way.
Awesome. Well, I want to take just a second here and give a shout out to Steve Berger. Thanks for the like. Good to hear from you, bud. Um, for everyone else here, if you like what we're doing, if you think this content is any kind of valuable, the way the algorithms work here is, they promote videos that are more watched, are more engaged with, are more liked. So even if you're not going to sit here and watch the entire show or something, leave us a like, drop in a comment, engage in some way, share this video if you can, and help us to reach more people. We really are doing this to be a resource to our community, and hopefully answer some questions, dispel some myths, and maybe give some people a peek behind the curtain that is technology, digital marketing, and sort of the world that we live in that is ever more important during whatever COVID era that we're in right now. So like, follow, share, all of that. If you like what we're doing, then help us to reach some more people, answer some more questions, and get some more information out there. You're also welcome to check out our website. We've got a bunch more resources over there, free resources. You can go to wildmanweb.com/articles for a whole section of just what it says, articles there. Quick little shallow dives into different aspects of digital marketing, social media, SEO, writing, blogging, design, whatever you want to learn about, there's probably an article there. And we reference everything, cite all of our sources in there. So there's a bunch of different links that you can follow and kind of go deeper down that rabbit hole if you really want to learn about something. And for the business owners out there, we still have our local business online toolkit at wildmanweb.com/LBOT. You can sign up there for some free tools, free software to help you manage your business online. There's tools to help you manage your different social media accounts, your different listings and map services and directories and information that you have across the internet, help your search rankings, reputation, help you get some more reviews in there. So lots of awesome stuff. You just go there and sign up at wildmanweb.com/LBOT. Those are my announcements. Mike, I think you had some updates, some news for the.
I had Yeah,
how
quick
many
news
people out
hits
there.
here. If we don't have a question in the queue, um, and Miles, for speaking of other free stuff that we have for people, do we have a link where somebody can go get a free snapshot report to see how their business is performing online?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll drop that link in the
Let's put
comments
let's put
below.
that in the
Yeah.
comments for him. Yeah. Okay. Let's provide a little bit more value. I'm feeling good today.
Yeah, it's just a free
Um,
report. It goes into everything that we can find, that our
yeah.
software can find in your business online, and lets you know how things are doing, and maybe where something could use a little bit of love.
Okay. So two quick updates. Probably one you guys will be much more interested in than the other. So I'll get to the fun one first. It appears TikTok may have been saved. We've been following the drama of TikTok a little bit here from week to week on the show. TikTok, of course, is a very popular newish platform, a social media platform, and it's owned by a Chinese company, and it's been having difficulties with President Trump. President Trump was actually going to ban it from the United States as of, I believe, about last week, if they were not bought by an American company. So, long story short, Microsoft tried to buy it. They did not. Bid got rejected, and a company called Oracle has at least been approved to buy it. The deal has not gone through quite yet. Excuse me, not to buy it, but to invest in it, as well as Walmart is as well going to invest in it. And so Trump has apparently given his blessing, but like I said, the deal is not finalized. But he's not taking TikTok off of the American internet, I guess, at least at this point. So what that means for us, those of you who are already using TikTok, keep doing it. It's a great platform, but I know that this spooked a lot of people that were like, yeah, they're wanting to jump in on TikTok and they heard it might be getting banned, and so they did not do that. So while it's not completely official, I feel like it's about 90-95% there. And why should you care? Why should you care about TikTok if you don't know already? Well, it's a great way for you to get attention for cheap. And what I mean by cheap is free. Um, it's one of the few platforms out there. LinkedIn can be the other great example of where you can put out content organically, and it's going to be seen by a whole lot of people. Think about the early days of Facebook. When you put out a post on Facebook, it got seen by everybody, the mother and the dog. Well, same thing on TikTok. So it's a great way to build up a following. It's a great way to build your audience. It's a great way to build brand. It does skew young. It has a young demo. Especially if you're targeting 12 to 25-year-olds, you should probably be on TikTok more than any other platform at this point. They did just recently, in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months or so, open it up for a more extensive advertising platform. So you are able to do paid ad campaigns on TikTok now. But like I said, a lot of businesses, if you have a good content strategy, you don't need it. You're going to get a whole lot of traction and views just organically for free. But that's not going to stay that way forever. And it's already starting to change. The difference between people who started to build an audience a year ago on TikTok and now have 3 million followers or so, and the people who are doing it today is drastically reduced. But it's still a lot easier to get that following built up than probably any other platform. Like I said, maybe except for arguably LinkedIn. So that's some good news, I guess, Miles, that we can pass on to the people that TikTok is not going away. And like I said, it's a great platform, especially if we're going to get these security concerns taken care of, which may have been concerns. I'll let you address that stuff on the technical end, Miles, but certainly that's good news. And the other thing I was going to add is, just because you may say to yourself, my demo is 35 to 45-year-olds. I don't need to worry about TikTok. Well, the same people said that about Instagram, and people said that about Facebook, and and Snapchat, and and this pattern is still going to keep happening because there's going to be new social media platforms, going on and on and on. There's already competitors trying to knock off TikTok out there and build up different platforms. So the point being is, things when you go on these platforms, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to build audiences on them that apply to other platforms. But the older point is that these always skew older eventually. You know, uh, Instagram used to only be 12 to 25-year-olds. Now it's mostly 35 to 45-year-olds. So it, same thing with Facebook, again and again. So definitely not something to just sweep under the rug. Pay attention to TikTok. Okay, the next little news update I had is about Facebook and Facebook advertising, and this will mostly probably make me happy. But for those of you out there who are doing Facebook ads and you've had ads rejected in the past because they've had more than 20% of the text on the graphic or the picture or the image that you're trying to display in the ad, they are taking that away now, and there's not going to be a limit on the image. So that's exciting. Going to not limit us and enable us to be a little more creative in how we're using our images and our text and our Facebook ads. But I just want to have a word of caution to still really pay a lot of focus and attention and attention to your copy in the actual text portion of the Facebook ad, because that will still be very important in order for you to get conversions. All right, well, that's all I had on the news front.
Well, that's some nice updates mostly there. I think people will be happy that, at least the users will be happy that TikTok's sticking around for the time being. I will be interested to see how the technical side of all of that develops, as there is still a lot of unanswered questions regarding some of those security concerns. I don't know everything about how that was working or what was really going on there, but as far as I understand, there was just a lot of unknowns, a lot of things blocked off, a lot of stuff we couldn't see. And the idea about getting some sort of American companies involved there would mean that they'd have to release certain elements of the IP and open up some of that so that we could really see what was going on back there. So hopefully some of those questions will get resolved here in the near future. Maybe I can stay up to date on that if you guys want me to. We can do another update here in a couple of weeks when we get some more solid answers on that. But for the time being, I've seen some real promise in their ad platform. And you're right, it really is it's a very different demographic than a lot of the other platforms. A lot of the other platforms seem to have a lot more overlap. I think that's partially because of just the nature of a new platform. It hasn't quite broken into the mainstream completely yet, and partially because it does skew so young. Really just a lot of kids using it, but that will change. You're right, these patterns have been pretty consistent throughout as far as new platforms coming up. I just wanted to throw in
one
one.
Demo.
Oh, I just want to throw in one extra point
you go ahead, then.
to what you were saying earlier of maybe you don't think you have to advertise to the platforms that are skewing a little bit younger if that's not necessarily your target demographic. One, yes, of course, these things are going to trend older. More and more people are going to start using them as they get more popular and as they get older. So is the demographic. But also there is that second degree person that you're marketing to. You don't always market directly to your key demographic. So lots of times, if you do have a product for kids, you're not advertising directly to kids, you're advertising to the parents. You're trying to get the mom's attention, for example. So if you are thinking, maybe I don't want to advertise, not necessarily just on this one, but on any particular platform because that demographic isn't your honeypot, think about it as a secondary as like a degree away or something and see if that makes sense. Because in a lot of campaigns that we do and that other people do, you do have to think a little bit broader there and market to maybe some demographics that you don't immediately think of. So there are some other more creative strategies that you can do in there to reach more people and to save some money as far as just getting a little bit more creative with your advertising budget. Mike, what were you gonna add in there?
Well, actually, let me piggyback on what you just said, because that was a great point. Yeah, a lot of times, and that's actually something that lady I was listening to the other day with the brand consulting, one of the leading brand consulting agencies in the world, was actually saying that they had found in their data is that during COVID, in the consideration process, that when parents recommended something to children and vice versa, that those were converting purchases at a much higher level than in the previous past. I think that goes back into why reputation is so important. We're less likely to take a chance on something right now, and so if we get a good piece of advice or a good recommendation from somebody that we really trust, which obviously family is our closest folks, then that carries a lot of weight, and we're going to act on that more now than we were in rosier times. We're more a little bit more freewheeling, and then and even in normal times, decisions are not made in a vacuum, and there's more than one decision maker in a household, and there's more than one decision maker a lot of times, even outside the household. A great example of this that we always give is elderly care. Very rarely is it the senior citizen who calls up the elderly care home and says, I need to come schedule a visit. It's usually the oldest daughter who has had a discussion with the other siblings, and then they've come to the parent and said, hey, this is what we think, and then they make the call to schedule the appointment to come see it. So that's a great just piece of advice to always keep in mind as you're thinking about your audience and who you're talking to, is don't just focus on one person, because you're going to leave a lot of people on the table. And talk about storytelling. One of the old great in storytelling is the father, mother, daughter, or the father, mother, son. Where you tell the same story about how your product or service is helping people through the eyes of the mother, the father, and the daughter, because everybody sees it from a little bit of a different angle. It can have their own input. And that's actually how a lot of decisions get made. So great point there, Miles. And then the last little tidbit I was going to throw in about the whole age thing and social media platforms is I recently saw a stat that the fastest growing demographic on Snapchat right now is women over the age of 40. And so, great example. 5 years ago or so, Snapchat was thought of just for teens. A lot of businesses said, I don't want to bother with that. Well, think about the ones who did, and they spent the last 5 years building up a huge platform, a huge audience on Snapchat, and now the fastest growing segment is literally the segment that has the most purchasing power in all of our society. Cha-ching, right? I mean, that's a huge win. So another great example of why you can't poo-poo these early platforms that are gaining steam.
Early platforms, and I think we kind of glossed over one of your earlier points of just ones where you can really get some organic reach. LinkedIn is one we talk about all the time, but apparently TikTok is in that as well, and some of these newer platforms that aren't fully integrated into as advanced marketing tools as Facebook, where they want you to pay for as much reach as possible. Basically, that's how that is functioning. But with some of these other platforms, things like LinkedIn, you can get a whole lot of traction off of organic posting. So that can allow you to really get a handle on the platform, get used to it, get a following over there, just learn how the tool works without actually spending any money, getting lots of reach out there, getting lots of engagement out there. And it's not, it's obviously taking up a little bit of time or a little bit of resources that way, but it's another way to really make a lot of difference, get a lot of bang for your buck on maybe a smaller marketing budget. So you can take your money and put it where it's doing the most good. Put that money into Facebook and then put your time into LinkedIn so that you're getting as much engagement and as much as you can possibly get out of the resources you have.
Excellent point, Miles. I just want to put one little caveat on that, and maybe we'll finally this nail to the coffin here. And the only I just want to add one word to what you just said, and that is today. It is possible to do that today. And each day that goes by, it is less and less possible to do that. And that is just a fact. Nothing's going to change it. The organic reach is going to go away the more a platform becomes popular. It's happened on every social media platform and will continue to happen on every social media platform. If this is you that could really use the demographic on TikTok or LinkedIn, and you have the ability to create content, you don't have a lot of money, but you want that organic reach, today is the day that you start that journey. If you haven't already, or if you have already, today is the day you double down on that, because it's going to go away. It's going to go away. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and that's the fun part of our industry, Mike, is that we are working with technology. It's a fast-moving world, whether we're talking about social media or mobile apps or web technology, software development. All of it is changing at light speed, and it really is. I say that kind of sarcastically, but I kind of really mean it. That it is fun to stay on top of all that technology and see all the new updates coming out, and
Mhm.
that's a big part of our jobs, just staying on top of all of this, um, so that small businesses in our community and our clients don't have to. Um, so we'll try to stay on top of all of this and get you all of the most current information that we can, answer all of your questions. But that's another reason we're doing this show: stay on top of everything and let everyone else know what's going on. But I think we've covered our questions. I don't see any new ones coming in the chat here, so I think we'll probably wrap up with that. Mike, any final notes for the wonderful people out there?
Build brand. No, just everybody have a great week, have a safe week, and send us some questions, and we'll be happy to answer them next time. Appreciate everybody watching.
All right, thanks, Mike. All right, thanks for tuning in for this week's episode of Ask Wildman. Like Mike just said, feel free to email us your questions if you're watching this later at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I've got that address scrolling below me here in this crawler. Otherwise, check back in with us on Facebook or YouTube next week at 11, which we're live streaming every week. Um, Yeah, and make sure to go to our website, wildmanweb.com, to learn more about any and everything that we're offering. A bunch of different resources there, and we're here to answer your questions at any point. So reach out, and we'll talk to you all again next week. Thanks.